Man, I'm really in the mood to play some 3D Mario, but there are just so many games to choose from. I mean, I could go to space, I could go to a water park, I could go to space again, or I could play on the go with Odyssey. Play on the go. I feel like I'm forgetting one. Oh yeah, that one.
If there was one video game that nearly every person has heard of, it would be Pac-Man. But if there was another game, it would be Donkey Kong. But still, Super Mario 64 is without a doubt one of the most revolutionary games of its era and arguably of all time. It completely changed the Mario formula in a way nobody saw coming. 2D to 3D was a jump everyone saw coming near the end of the Super Nintendo, but could anyone have predicted a switch from single levels to reach a flagpole all the way to the large 3D worlds with multiple collectibles that you can do in almost any order? It might seem like a simple idea now, especially if you didn't grow up during that era, but trust me when I say games like this and Ocarina of Time changed the gaming industry forever. These are some of the most important games of all time and impacted so many people's childhoods. Yet because they were released on the Nintendo 64, the graphics aren't the best. It's cool to look back on them as a step towards the future, but that blocky polygonal style is just, how do I put this nicely? Fucking ugly. But with games as popular as this with a guarantee for making money, Nintendo did what any sensible company would do and re-released them on new consoles for newer generations to play. Ocarina of Time 3D is widely accepted as a great remake, staying true to the original with improved graphics on the 3DS. And Super Mario 64 got a remake as well, in fact, many years before Ocarina of Time even did.
I wonder why nobody talks about this remake from one of the most revolutionary games of all time, so maybe we should check it out. Today, we are taking a look at Super Mario 64 DS.
Super Mario 64 DS was released on November 21st, 2004 in North America, with releases in the rest of the world over the next few months. Just as Super Mario 64 was a launch title for the Nintendo 64, its handheld counterpart was also a launch title for the DS and was the first 3D Mario game on a handheld console. The game's original working title was Super Mario 64 x4 and was first shown at E3 2004 as a multiplayer demonstration showing off the graphical differences of the DS. Mario now represents his modern look much better, and you can't deny they look much different, even if they still both look like shit. It was finally announced to be a full game a few months later before a demonstration at the Nintendo DS conference on October 7th, 2004, which was actually my 7th birthday, fun fact. The full title of the game Super Mario 64 DS was revealed, along with the game having 4 playable characters: Mario, Luigi, Wario, and the best one. Plus, the game was to include a multiplayer mode and minigames, which I'm not gonna say are better than the main game. Okay, I lied. Yes, they are. These are the real selling point of this game, and anyone who says otherwise has clearly never played them. There are 36 minigames divided between the 4 playable characters and are unlocked by simply unlocking them, as well as catching rabbits. Yeah, remember how annoying catching Mips just twice was in the original? Well, you're in for a real treat, because if you want every minigame, you're gonna have to catch 28 rabbits. Honestly, might just be worth buying New Super Mario Bros. Instead, because it basically copy-pasted the majority of the minigames, and I'd much rather pay $40 than ever have to catch these fuckers ever again. Since it was a launch title for the DS, all the minigames take advantage of the touchscreen to show off its capabilities. For some of them, it definitely improves the experience, making it feel like they can only be played on the DS, which is just perfect. But then there's this crap where it never reads where I'm touching and screws me out of points even though I definitely tapped the right character. Oh my god, I hate this! Even with the simplicity of all these minigames, they have a surprisingly wide variety of games. Yoshi's games follow a puzzle format, Mario's games are a bit more action focused, and Wario's are all over the fucking place with no set type. Like, one has you guide a snowball down a hill, while another has you tapping blocks to find coins, another is guiding an even bigger snowball down an even bigger hill, and another is tapping even more blocks to find even more coins. I have a strong suspicion they ran out of ideas. This goes for all the characters because all of them have one or more minigames that basically is just a more difficult version of a previous one. Doesn't take away from how fun they are, but they could have had at least tried to make some of them more creative. At least all of Luigi's are a fun time, even if they did give childhood me a gambling addiction. That's not even a joke. You have no idea how much time I spent playing these, which is why I will never go to a real-life casino, because I'm afraid this and Pokemon slot machines have me addicted. There really is a minigame for everyone in this mode, and definitely gives the game way more replay value than the original. And you know what else gives this game more replay value? The exact same thing that gives the original replay value even today with emulators: multiplayer. The Versus mode was played similarly to how most games for the DS worked, with only one player needing the actual game and the rest connecting by the DS download play. There are 4 stages to pick from, and everyone plays as Yoshi with the goal to collect as many stars and coins within a time limit. It is the simplest, easiest to understand, least important multiplayer mode I have ever seen, but I'd be lying if I said this wasn't one of the best parts of the entire game. Everyone can remember back in the day all those rumors about how to unlock Luigi or a second playable character on the N64, and this finally lets that dream become a reality. It's too bad you can't play the entire game with more than one player, but that's why we illegally pirate games on emulators. Honestly, I feel like this could be a really good mode if they just refined it a bit with more complex stages, more character options, and made it work online, but that's acting a bit much for a DS launch title. For what it is, it's a fun little side mode to play with your friends who don't own the game. If the rumors of a Super Mario 64 remake on the Switch are true, this is a mode they definitely should include, as long as the online works better than most Switch games, which is asking a lot.
Well, now that we've talked about the most important parts of the game, I guess we can mention the rest of the game and the main story for the 5 of you that care.
Even though this game is technically a remake of Super Mario 64, it's not a one-to-one perfect remake of just upscaled graphics. That's pretty obvious with the inclusion of minigames and multiplayer mode for starters, but the main game has some big differences too. Remember how in the original, Peach invites Mario over for cake, but when he enters the castle, he learns that she's been kidnapped by Bowser, and that's the entire story? Well, in the remake, it's exactly the same, except now Luigi and Wario come with Mario to the castle until they get kidnapped, which leads to Yoshi entering the castle to track them down. With all the over-the-top, extravagant storylines we have nowadays, part of me really misses when the only motive to beat a game was to stop a giant turtle from f***ing your girlfriend and or friends in the remake's case. The main point of the game is to collect stars throughout the castle in order to save the other playable characters, which lets you progress to gain even more stars. So again, exactly the same as the original, just with 3 new characters slapped on top of it. Adding 3 new characters in addition to Mario was the best change this game could have possibly made. Don't get me wrong, playing as Mario in the original was so much fun, but how many of us dreamed of playing as Luigi? The remake finally fulfilled all of our dreams and then some with Wario and Yoshi, who I don't think any of us could have possibly predicted. Although even with the new characters, that didn't stop the internet from spreading fake rumors about how to unlock Waluigi. Honestly, I think this might have been worse than Luigi in the original because the internet was much more mainstream and there was already Luigi and Wario, so it seemed weird to omit Waluigi. Also, there's this weird 4th door in the character change room that seems like it was meant for a 4th character, but literally does nothing. What the hell is the point of it? You have no idea how much time I spent trying to do weird, convoluted ways of unlocking Waluigi, from searching every corner of the castle, running around the courtyard, and even straight up cheating and walking out of bounds, but nothing worked. What does Nintendo have against Waluigi? Why won't they make him playable in any main game? Because he looks like a sex offender? Probably. The 4 playable characters all play mostly the same with just some slight differences. Mario is the most basic, playing essentially the same as the original game. Luigi is his usual slippery, fast self. Wario is slow but strong, and Yoshi can flutter jump as he always can. The big difference between them are their special abilities that are used by collecting a power flower. The wing, metal, and vanish caps were all removed, and now each character has their own ability that sort of mirrors those. Luigi can turn invisible, Wario turns into metal, Mario sort of flies by turning into a balloon, and then Yoshi harnesses the power of Satan and breathes fire. These can be used throughout the game in different levels for different stars, which forces you to enter levels multiple times with each character. I both like and dislike this change. I like that it makes the levels feel different and gives the game more variety, but why in the hell don't they let you pick the character on the level select screen? That would take away so much of the tediousness of needing to go back and forth just to collect 1 star.
That's pretty annoying, but you want to know what's even worse? Trying to control this game with a fucking D-pad.
Who in their right mind would ever think a 3D adventure would be fun to play without a control stick? Wasn't the entire point of the N64's control stick for games like this? I know the DS doesn't have a control stick, so they couldn't use one to begin with, but that doesn't change the fact that this game controls like a rock. In other words, it's stiff and hard to use. If I had a nickel for every time I've been told that. This is my biggest issue with the game. Everything about this game is great. A modern look added with more content to a game I spent hours playing as a child is amazing. But how am I supposed to enjoy this with controls that make me want to commit murder? I'm pretty sure even the developers knew these controls were awful, so they actually implemented a second control scheme, and I will give you one guess as to what it is. Remember, this was a launch title for the DS, so of course they wanted to show off how unique it was. And what was the DS' biggest new feature? Oh yes, you can play this game with touch controls. Let me try and wrap my head around this. You remade a game that was the pinnacle of 3D movement and gameplay and changed the controls to a D-pad that was completely unused in the original, mind you, just like every other game on the N64, and also added touch controls that are okay at best. But when you were trying to move with the touchscreen with one hand and push buttons with the other while trying to look at both screens at the same time, it's damn near impossible. How could they make two control schemes and they still both suck? Might as well rename the game Super Mario 64 Ways to Play and piss yourself off. DS. Luckily, in exchange for the awful new controls, they fixed the most annoying part of the original and made the camera not act like a kid who has never worked a camera in their life. Anyone who's played the original knows how frustrating that camera is, and everyone has been screwed over by it at some point. Also, those stupid invisible walls in random places for no reason. I will gladly accept worse controls if it means I never have to deal with that crap ever again.
I really feel that if this game was released on the GameCube or the Wii, it would be talked about so much more. Probably because the controls wouldn't be dog shit and the graphics wouldn't be compressed to hell, but for one of the first 3D adventures on a handheld console, this was solid.
I 100% understand the limitations of this remake from it being on a handheld console, but that will never change the fact that the controls are still garbage. I will still admit the game as a whole has definitely improved on the original. Mario and Bowser no longer look like a 4-year-old made them out of clay, plus we have new characters and the game has so much more content between the new worlds, updated star missions, and most importantly the mini-games. What more could you ask for? Maybe not to play with a fucking D-pad, but I've ranted enough about that already. Taking everything into account, DS is definitely superior to the original. Nobody wants to admit it because of how revolutionary 64 was, but as a video game, DS is superior in every way, except for not including Waluigi. Seriously, where the hell is he?
Ever since those rumors of a Super Mario 64 remake coming out, everyone's just been talking about it, but if we're being real, Super Mario 64 DS is the real game that should be remade. Imagine this game with the graphics of Odyssey, maybe add a new character or two, and a control stick? It would be the best Mario game ever made. What the heck is that? What the hell? A new Mario game was announced? Oh my god, I gotta go check out what this is. New Super Mario 3D platformer. What the hell? Son of a bitch!